Now, I do want to get into the DC Marvel universes. What was released this summer from Marvel?
They released two major sequels, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, along with Thor, Love and Thunder. That's the second Doctor Strange movie and the fourth Thor movie.
And how did they perform?
Very well. And you've
Okay.
heard a lot of chatter online about, oh, these films underperformed and Marvel's in trouble, yada, yada, yada. Here's the numbers. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness made 411 million domestic. That's more, not adjusted for inflation, but pretty close. It's more than Spider-Man Far From Home. That's more than Spider-Man Homecoming. That's more than Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's more than uh, Iron Man 3. That's more than Captain America Civil War. A film that, by the way, had all of the Avengers beating the crap out of each other and cameos from Spider-Man and Black Panther. So worldwide, it made $955 million. And that is the third biggest worldwide gross for a Marvel movie that does not feature either Iron Man or Spider-Man. The others are Captain Marvel with $1.128 billion and Black Panther with $1.346 billion. However, both of those films played in China and Russia. The Doctor Strange 2 and Thor 4 did not. Had Doctor Strange 2 played in China and Russia in pre-COVID standards, it probably would have made about $1.1 billion. And nobody would have said, oh, it's a disappointment because it didn't clear a billion or whatever. I'm sorry. I think Captain Marvel's a fine movie. I think Black Panther's terrific. But the fact that those films vastly overperformed right before, at the end of phase three, I think it set unrealistic expectations for what a non-event Marvel movie is supposed to do. Because prior to that, there was a genuine ceiling on non-Iron Man, non-Spider-Man Marvel pictures, and that ceiling was under $900 million.
Is that why you're calling these movies so-called disappointments that were actually huge hits?
Yes, because I think if you look at the numbers, they did great. But again, the media is often, the narrative is often set by people who either have an agenda, and I'll be, sometimes I have an agenda too, but I try to show my work, and or just don't know what they're talking about. They think, oh, Spider-Man 3, the Force Awakens of Spider-Man movies did $1.9 billion. So surely the second Doctor Strange is going to do $1.3 billion. That's not how it works. And you know how we know that's not how it works? Because in 2018, Black Panther made $1.346 billion. 3 months later, Avengers Infinity War made $2 billion worldwide. 2 months after that, Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is very good, by the way, made $620 million worldwide. And there was nobody saying, Marvel is doomed, Marvel is in trouble, because that's not how the world worked. In 2017, you had three blockbuster Marvel movies. Guardians of the Galaxy made 869. Spider-Man No Way Home, which featured Iron Man in a major supporting role, by the way, made 881 million. Thor Ragnarok made 854. Nobody was calling those films disappointments.
Why is the bar set so differently for Marvel?
They're wrong. They want to create a narrative that isn't there. Look, if Black Panther bombs or only does like 600 worldwide, if Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming next summer only does 600 worldwide, then we can panic. But Marvel, they're in a tricky space right now because, COVID kind of changed their momentum. Their schedule was all thrown out of whack with films opening out of order and what have you. And frankly, in the long term, and I wrote about this back in 2018, not to toot my own horn,
But toot toot.
but I must. Episodic serialized television shows tend to flounder or struggle in their fourth season. Gilmore Girls, Smallville, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Glee, Community, several others that I'm probably forgetting. And one reason for that is you have a 3-act arc that sort of ends with the end of the first big story. Rory graduates from high school. Clark Kent graduates from high school. The kids from Glee all go to college. And then in season 4, you're like, okay, what the hell do we do now? Yeah. It's like half of them are in college, half of them are still in school. By all rights, they should never be interacting with each other, but they are all series regulars, so they have to find a reason to come back home every other episode. And it's kind of a mess. And then you get to season 5, and they figure out, okay, this is the story we're telling now, and you're fine.
Do you think that there's any legs to the fact that Marvel could be in danger? Because you said it was a weird time for Marvel now, but is there any truth to that?
I think right now the numbers suggest no. for a couple reasons. First of all, Thor 4, despite mixed negative reviews, it still grossed more money than Thor Ragnarok in North America, even adjusted for inflation. It's at 337 right now, which is more money than Deadpool 2, Iron Man 2, Joker, Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man 3, Aquaman, all of these huge comic book movies that were seen in their time as huge box office hits. It's made 746 million worldwide. That is more money outside of China and Russia than the third Thor made. So whatever issues Marvel is dealing with right now, audiences are still showing up to their movies in numbers that would be bonkers bananas for any other franchise. Now, does that mean that it won't eventually all crumble and fall? No, I mean, anything can happen. I do think the TV shows on Disney Plus are potentially watering down the specialness of the brand. But the good news is the amount of people watching the movies versus is still a lot more than the people watching the shows. Okay. So for most general audiences, Marvel is still a periodic event that happens in theaters.